Welcome to Revive Ministries Podcast. This month we discuss holding on to hope, tribute to Recovery Month and Suicide Prevention Week. I know both of those together don't really sound like a lot of hope, but when we actually look at the stories and the lives and the people surrounding these issues, there is a lot of hope, even in the small victories. We have a returning guest, Saeda, joining us with today, all the way from Palestine. Thank you so much for joining us and just joining in the conversation and discussing. Thank you, Saeda.
Thank you so much for having me.
I just want to share with those who are in the U.S., but obviously, we always encourage you to find what resources are available in your area. But the one in the United States, it's 1-800-273-8255 is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Again, I do encourage you who are listening to find what is available. Even if it's just a community, maybe it's a club, maybe it's something that's faith-based, whatever helps you. We always try to find safe places. And, I'll say that I always start off with a quote because someone has said it always better than me. And Napoleon Bonaparte, of all people, he says this. He says, "Courage isn't having the strength to go on. It's going on when you don't have strength." What comes to mind, Saeda, when you hear this quote? It's on the screen, so.
So I guess this quote is actually really good. Sometimes things are hard and you just want to give up.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it feels like you have given up.
Yeah.
Anyway, but when you're still alive, you're still breathing, you're still moving. That's courage.
Yes.
Even when you feel your lowest and you get up and you go on with daily routines, that's courage. And you feel like you have nothing left to give, but you're still giving like the bare minimum that's like for normal people, I guess you can say. That's courage.
I like what you're saying. We as humans do like the underdog, and there's a reason for that. We do like people persevering when the odds are against them. There is a lot of, when we look at strength and how we view it, it has shown me personally what I find valuable. In recovery, the uncertainty can be overwhelming at times. There's another quote that goes really well with what you said, Saeda. I'm just going to share it. It's kind of haunting, but I do think a lot of us just say, "I'll die for you." But it says, "If you want to show me that you really love me, don't say that you would die for me. Instead, stay alive for me." That's for me this month and everything everyone's going through. We're still kind of trying to get to some semblance of normal. What does this quote say to you, Saeda?
It's so easy to die. It is.
Yes, yeah.
Millions of ways. But to find that one person that says, "I'm willing, regardless whatever happens in my life, whatever shitty things I'm going through, I will live through those things just for you." Just so when someone says, "I would stay alive for you," really, that's just way bigger than someone's. Because I have some tendencies, because it's like, I guess, slang words, like whenever you're on Twitter and stuff, you're like, "Oh my God, I'm dying," or "I would die for you." But when someone's like, "Oh my God, I would live for you," I'm just like, okay, that's like a different, like, especially the mindset of a lot of people have, and suicide and so many other things. For someone to say that I would live through all of whatever I'm going through for you.
Yeah,
I feel like that's just a deeper level. A deeper level.
I think so, and I think it's not to negate. A lot of people have sacrificed to save others, and those are we will call them heroes. But it's all out of context when we're talking about this. A lot of times during my recovery, it would be easier to give up. It'll be easier to say, "I am done." When you don't have anything to lose and you give up, in my context, that is not what they meant, "I will die for you." That means that you just feel that the pain is so overwhelming And I'm not minimizing that for those who are struggling, maybe those who are listening, maybe it's those who know someone who's struggling right now. And I feel it's having those, you know, those support network, having those people around you. I said in the beginning, find what resources. Sometimes, I'll just be honest, some places don't have the sort of resources that we would like. But whether it's a friend
Mm-hmm.
or a group or a club, someone that you could talk to, we forget how much just having that safe place to communicate, to share, it doesn't fix it all, but it's not just one thing that kind of helps. I want to share one thing, again, to those who are listening. Obviously, this month is very near and dear for me. I've lost people through this suicide and also recovery in general when it comes to substance use. I want to say that the national crisis hotline is 1-800-273-8255. But again, as a peer, and I'm going to get into this, like I said, I lost some people. And I feel as a veteran, it's easy to kind of throw, I'm going to die for someone. But at the same time, let's just be honest, suicide is for many of us, even myself, even though I've come to terms to a lot of it, it's hard to talk about. It's hard to talk about. And in the same regard, recovery is messy. And this is, when you first came on, Saeda, we talked about stigma a bit. And I'm going to return to that. How has stigma impacted your own and those on the journey of recovery? Whether it's mental health, whether it's substance use, whether it's both, whatever is just trauma, whether it's just pain or loss. What have you found stigma? What has your experience with stigma been?
Well, I've lost a friend to suicide,
Mm-hmm.
and I think one of the biggest issues that they had was the stigma around, mental health. And I think that was like one of the big reasons why they took their own life, is because they felt like they had no one to turn to, and they just didn't want to be planted as somebody who's just, like a goner, I guess people would label them as. And they fought a good fight, but I guess ultimately it was just them not being able to reach out to their family. Or I don't want to blame family. I mean, I guess they just didn't have anyone. Even though they, like, I tried, I guess, to be that person for them. They just needed more. Like, I'm not experienced in, like, I'm not like a psychiatrist, but I felt like if they were to go, they would automatically be labeled by those around them that they are deemed as a goner in society. Like, the stigma around mental health is still there, regardless what country you're in, regardless of where you are. People would just be like, okay, like, this person has mental health issues. Like, whatever they do, they blame it on the mental health.
Yeah, I was listening to what you were saying, and it does speak to me because it is that difficult. Could I have done more? And I think it's not just one of us, not whether I'm qualified or you're qualified, Saeda, is that unfortunately, it's perspective. We talk about perspective. I could be surrounded by a lot of people and feel like no one's there. One thing we lost as a culture, whether country you're in, is, I'm talking to you, Saeda, but a lot of people don't know how to communicate. We have so many means to communicate, so many little,
we don't communicate.
And we don't communicate. We just kind of like, for instance, I'm talking to you, but a lot of times sometimes when I'm talking to my peers or people around my age, they're just waiting to talk about what they heard me say in the beginning. We're not truly listening. And when you're
the whole conversation.
Yeah, they're just waiting for their point, their opportunity to kind of. I'm saying this as general. I'm guilty of it too. I go to a restaurant. Now things are sort of opening, and you still see, after all this whole time with COVID, you still see people stuck on their phones with their whole families. They're not even talking to each other.
Enjoying the moment.
And they're not present minded. They're not there. And for me, I think at least when I was at my lowest, when I tried to take my own life while over a decade ago, I just remember it wasn't so much like I would say, one of my friends would be like, I was here, but it was all about my perspective. I felt no one was there. I felt that there was no other option. So I think it took me a while because some of my friends or people I know are not here because of this, and this is why we pay tribute. This is why we talk about these things. We have it all on a calendar because we're so easily able to forget. Stigma, like you said, it's culturally, it's cross cultures, it's cross social economics. It touches everyone. I remember one of my good friends who, and this is where I'm going to lead to. One of my good friends, she's struggles with substance use, and she said to me, "Rob, if every single day was me not picking up a drink, then what's the point? It has to be more." And I don't proselytize at all in this. It's an outreach, but I do believe when a purpose-driven recovery. I do believe that it's not just one thing. What is your why in life? What makes you tick? Why do you do what you do? Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you this.
What pushes me
Yeah.
to do what I need? What takes me to my breaking point, or to makes me keep pushing?
Well, like what keeps you going? Why do we care? Like in one of my slogans in Revive Ministries, when it comes to all of this, is why do we care? Because we can't afford not to. But that's just me. Why do you do what you do? When it comes to recovery, when it comes to improving your life, when it comes to not that whole thing. What's your why when it comes to that purpose-driven?
Oh God, I'm about to say like the most cliche thing ever. My family. I just don't want to be. I just want to be the best version of myself possible. And I guess when I talk about mental health, I want to, for the next generation, whenever I have children, I want it to be okay and open, whatever they're struggling with, whether if it's something minor, something major. I want it to be a better place for them. So I guess my why is, cliche as this may seem, my family.
Well, I don't think it's cliche. I think family, we try to make it so complicated. Mental health, suicide. Why do we care? It's because of people. Because of people around us. The people around us. The people that have touched our lives, whether they're here or not. I found this quote just recently, and I didn't. So this is gonna be random. I'm just sharing it with you because it inspired me. It says, "Leave everything undefined, including yourself. Befriend uncertainty. Fall in love with mystery. Kneel at the altar of not knowing. Give your questions time to breathe, and the answers will find you." It's kind of haunting. For me, it's like it's this embracing not knowing, embracing uncertainty. Especially, I think a lot of us can relate to that in various degrees. And then when you're in it, when you're in that thick of despair, at least from my experience, it's always about knowing some way, some avenue, or this only if this person talks to me today, then I'll stay alive today. You know what I mean? But we don't know. You don't know that person's context. You're kind of like shooting yourself in the foot. But at the same time, it's about perspective. And I feel, at least from my experience, when the uncertainty can be so heavy, not knowing what is next, and these only if statements of what success is in regards to our lives. And you said it right there. You said, why do you do this? Because of family, because there's a difference between a house and a home. There is.
Exactly. There is.
Yeah, I could live somewhere. I could live in a nice place, but feel empty. I could have a nice job and title and feel unfulfilled. It's what is success to you? And I think that's when I think about our purpose-driven, what our why is. It kind of helps us. I remember last time you were on Saeda, I mentioned Viktor Frankl. He wrote the book Man Find Meaning, and I thought it was, if anyone, I thought reading this book, he would understand All these, the Holocaust, awful situation, of course, right? And and then he saw the people who made it were the ones who had a why, per se. Ones who, it's not that it made it easier, but it made it bearable. There has to be something. It can't just, like my friend said, it can't be just, I'm not going to drink today. It has to be filled with something. And I again say, whatever it is, whatever you're passionate about, do it. For me, helping people became my healing. Serving people became my recovery. And I feel that is my why. And I want to give you the opportunity to say that. I know I know that sometimes when we talk about suicide, or most times, it's difficult to know what to say, because we know our story, we know what has affected us, but that's the point. That's what people want to hear. They want to hear different perspectives, and I wanted to say, encourage you and thank you for coming on. But I want you to give it an opportunity to share any thoughts, anything that's going on with you, anything that you want to share at this moment as we kind of wrap up. But I'm not rushing at all. I'm just giving you an opportunity.
I guess I think I said this before, to take one day at a time. When I was younger, I just, you said that you have to live with not knowing.
Yeah.
That one quote. I had an issue. I need to know everything head on, because then it just gave me huge anxiety. I have to know what, where, how, when. I had to know everything.
Yeah.
Some part of me still does that.
Yeah.
But I guess living with, some days you're not gonna know. Some days it's just, every day is a new adventure. Every day is a new life to live. Every day is a new beginning. I guess to take one.
Yeah.
I think I said this for last podcast I was on. That just take one day at a time. Like, don't rush things. Everything has its reason, its purpose. And I think it's one of the main things, to just breathe. I guess, as ironic as that may seem, just breathe. Just take one. Like, I guess, when people say, "Oh, it gets better," it generally does. Like, with time, it does get better. Like, it doesn't always be shitty. Just work on yourself. Be the best version of you can be, and it does get better.
Yeah, and I do like you mentioning family, because a lot of times it gets overlooked. A lot of times what I've seen, especially during this COVID, a lot of divorces, and you're like, well, you're spending more time. I'm like, well, a lot of us treat maybe work or whatever as an escape. I want to share this, and some may agree, some may disagree, but it's a quote that I thought was needed, was something that we could ponder about. It says, "All happy families are alike. Each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way." Interesting. I find it weird, because not like all happy, but there's some key elements. At least for me, when it comes to family, it's a safe place. Understanding, non-judgmental, but there's a lot, and I feel it all starts with the family. And when we're talking about suicide, when we talk about suicide prevention, and about the quote we said way before, if you want to show me you really love me, don't say that you would die for me. Instead, stay alive for me. The person, was it? Ernest Hemingway. He wrote the book Farewell to Arms. One of my favorite conversations in that book was one of the persons like, "Who is that in the trench with you, and is he important?" He said, "More than the war itself." So, like, I feel it's who's next to us that matters. A lot of things around us will change, and that's the point. The one constant is change, but I think saying, cliche family, but I think you hit it right on the nose. We are connected people. We want to connect. We're doing a podcast right now to share with others that it's okay to not be okay. There is help out there. It will eventually. Every day cannot be a crisis situation. It's not
Mm-hmm.
sustainable. Every day is not also the best day in the world. You know what I mean? Some days you just some days you just have to, it didn't work out. I'm gonna try again tomorrow. Going back to the first quote that we had from Napoleon Bonaparte. Courage isn't having the strength to go on, it's going on when you don't have the strength. I think it kind of is very poignant of this topic. Any other things you would like to share as we wrap up, Saeda?
No, I think I got everything that I wanted to say.
No, it's fine. It's a lot, and even though it seemed like it went quick, I always enjoy having you here, Saeda, and
I love talking.
sharing your insight all the way from Palestine. I know, like getting the time zones right is kind of
It's
hard,
crazy.
but at the same time, I do appreciate your how you say persistence. We're both very persistent people, but I really enjoy you having. I just want to share with those who are listening. You can go through the ReviveMinistryFL.com website, find out more. This is goodbye from Revive Ministry Podcast. If there's anything else going on, Saeda, or anything you want to share with those who are listening, I'll put it in the notes. So those who are listening, and I just want to share this one quote, and then and this is goodbye from Revive Ministries. It says, "Every morning you have two choices: continue to sleep with your dreams, or wake up and chase your dreams. The choice is yours."